All right, Super Bowl week has finally arrived. Super Bowl 55, Kansas City Chiefs facing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. Patrick Mahomes versus Tom Brady. I am Chris Corman, one of the hosts of The Counter, joined by Stephen Ruiz and Charles McDonald, the rest of our team. Guys, both of you have sort of focused on one team here and tried to figure out what that team needs to do to win this game. So I'm going to kick it to Stephen first. He looked at the Bucs. What does Tampa Bay need to do to have a chance in this football game?
I mean, beyond just hoping the Chiefs screw up, I think the focus should be on getting Tom Brady to play at his best and whatever that takes. And in the first game they played against each other in the second half, it was giving him coverage indicators so he knew what coverage he was looking at, whether it was man or zone. I think in the first half he was really confused and you could see how uncomfortable he was. But once he started to get the answers before the snap, he got comfortable. He was getting the ball out quickly, and we saw the Bucs start to come back in that game.
What are some of the other factors that you think that they need to look at, like defensively? Do they have any shot against Patrick Mahomes here?
I mean, as much as any other team has a shot against the Chiefs, it's the same. It was a difference between the first half and the second half. In the first half, they try to play their typical game plan, man coverage, blitzing, and Tyreek Hill just roasted Carlton Davis. In the second half, they started to play more two high zones. I think you're going to see them do that at the beginning this time. The question is, can you contain Travis Kelce when you do that? And can you still keep an eye on Tyreek Hill? Because once he gets the ball in his hands, he's still liable to turn like a 7-yard slant into an 80-yard touchdown.
All right, Charles McDonald has been looking at the Chiefs, and enviable job trying to figure out how this team can win some games. It's pretty clear. But what specifically has to happen here? You know, we talked during the season about the Chiefs struggling at times, and we all expected them to turn it on. But there are like some weaknesses here and some injury concerns too. So what do you think the Chiefs need to do to they're favored by 3 points? How do they pull this off?
This is going to sound lazy, but they just need to keep the ball in the hands of Patrick Mahomes throughout the whole game. And I don't just say that because Mahomes is, one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen, and he's well on his way towards being a first ballot Hall of Famer. But also the Buccaneers have a really good run defense. They were first based on like normal statistics that you look at, like yards per carry. They were first based on expected points added. And that's just not really a situation that the Chiefs really need to mess around with until the end of the game. When they've established a lead and they're trying to close it out. So I think you keep the ball in the hands of Patrick Mahomes and just try to get the ball to your playmakers. But I think you just kind of need to avoid the run altogether unless you think that you can scheme your way past Vita Vea and Steve McClendon and those guys up front. It's just got to be the Patrick Mahomes show on Sunday.
Defensively, are the Chiefs in good position to try to stop this Bucs offense? The offense have a ton. There's a ton of talent on that offense. Are the Chiefs pretty well built to handle that?
Their secondary, I think, is a little bit underrated with guys like L'Jarius Sneed and Rashad Breeland. They played well in the playoffs, but it's a tough task going against Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Rob Gronkowski and those guys. But I think one unique advantage that the Chiefs have is they have defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo, who was with the Giants in 2007 when they knocked off the Patriots in their undefeated year. And obviously, a lot has changed since then. I mean, that was almost 15 years ago. But it still helps to have a guy who's been there and done that against one of the best quarterbacks that we've ever seen. And hopefully that can help them get over the edge on their point. And they're going to need a lot of pressure from Chris Jones. The right side of Tampa Bay offensive line is pretty good with Tristan Wirfs coming out and playing like an all-pro as a rookie. So they're going to need to get pressure on Tom Brady, and they might need to get creative to do it because that pass rush has been pretty suspect all season.
Okay, guys, so we've been talking about this game a lot, thinking about it, digging in on the numbers. It feels like we knew the Chiefs were going to be, right? Like early on in the season, we thought they'd be the team to represent the AFC. The Bucs had a feeling that maybe would end up this way when Tom Brady signed there, and here we are. What do you actually think is going to happen, Steven? How will this game play out in your mind?
I don't think the Bucs offense is going to have enough success, and that's a high bar when you're going up against the Chiefs. Like, unless you're perfect, it's going to be hard to win a shootout with them. And I do think this game is going to be high scoring, and that just works to the advantage of the Chiefs. I don't think Brady's going to be able to match Mahomes. I think it'll be like 34-23.
Charles, how about you? Do you see anything different? The Chiefs' offensive line is really undermanned at this point, and that sort of is trouble against the Bucs. They have some pass rushing talent and can maybe get pressure on Mahomes without blitzing, which is as close to kryptonite as there is for Patrick Mahomes. Do you see it happening any differently?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with that is Mahomes is still pretty good when he's under pressure, too. Like, if you go look at Sports Info Solutions and the stats they have, and you look at quarterbacks that were pressured and flushed out of the pocket, he's the best quarterback in the league and, like, one of the only quarterbacks to produce positive EPA on those plays. So it just it feels kind of futile when you're thinking about a plan to stop this. Like, you can even go back to what Steven said about the zones, but if Mahomes throws a dart to Travis Kelce, it's still really hard to get Travis Kelce on the ground. Or if Tyreek Hill catches the ball, it's still really hard to get him on the ground. Or if they can scheme McCole Hardman open, then no one's going to catch him either. And it's just so much speed, and it's just like a new brand of athleticism and power that we haven't really seen all come together like this to give us one of the greatest 3-year stretches of offensive football that we've ever seen. And I think that's going to be enough to carry them to a win.
Each of you give me one player you think is going to play a big role in this game that we're not thinking about. We've talked about Mahomes, we talked about Kelce, we talked about Hill. Is there an X-factor player that you expect to emerge in this game?
For me, it's probably Juan Thornhill, he's been a good player when he's played. He was hurt for last year's Super Bowl run, so maybe he didn't get the postseason shine, but he's been playing really well. This whole, I guess it's the playoff run, but last week especially against the Bills, and I think against those receivers, those outside threats, he needs to play well.
And for me, I'm going to go with Ryan Jensen, the Buccaneers center, because if they can keep the interior of that line clean and not allow Chris Jones to just kind of wreak havoc, Tom Brady should have a lot of time to throw, which I think that's where the game maybe can get a little sticky for the Chiefs, but you still have to outscore Mahomes on the other end. So, Ryan Jensen, Ali Marpet, those guys in the interior are going to have to play a huge role to keep Brady upright because Chris Jones is the big guy that they have to stop in the middle.
All right. Well, we'll be talking about this game on the counter. We have an episode coming out Thursday. Hope you'll find us there wherever you find your podcasts, and we'll have another little video after the game, and we'll break down everything we see in Super Bowl 55 on the Monday episode of The Counter. Hope you will listen in, and we'll see you on Twitter. Take care.